Assalamu alaikum. We are master students in data science at Simad University, and it's honor to present our course project titled Analyzing the Impact of Humanitarian Events on Foreign Aid Allocations in Somalia. In this project, we combine data-driven insights with real-world implications to explore how a humanitarian event shape the distribution of foreign aid. As the first speaker, I will introduce the context, objectives, and importance of our research, setting the stage for my teammates to present our findings in greater details. We all thank our facilitator, Dr. Yunus Ali Ahmed. And Somalia has faced recurrent droughts and conflict over the years, deeply affecting its people and economy. The country has experienced severe droughts such as those in 2011 and 2022, which led to famine, displacement, and loss of livelihoods for millions. These crises have often been compounded by ongoing conflicts, political instability, and competition over scarce resources like water and grassy land. The combination of natural disasters and armed conflict has created a cycle of humanitarian challenges, leaving many reliant on international aid for survival. Somalia remains one of the most fragile states in the world, where recurrent droughts, food insecurities, and prolonged armed conflicts continue to aggravate the humanitarian needed and intensified reliance on foreign aid. The collapse of state institutions and weak governance have left millions of Somali dependents on international assistance for their survival. Against this backdrop, this study investigates the relationship between major humanitarian disasters, particularly drought and armed conflicts, and distribution of foreign aid to Somalia between 2019 and 2025. Somalia remains one of the largest humanitarian emergencies globally, of 7.8 million people indeed in 2021. 43,000 deaths due to droughts in 2022. More than 3 million internally displaced persons, IPD, due to the conflict, plus droughts, and so many other factors. Aid dependency in extreme up to 40% of GDP in some years in aid. A humanitarian response is led by United agencies like WFP, UNICEF, VAW, UNCHR, and bilateral donors and also NGOs. Despite decades of international humanitarian assistance, Somalia continues to face the recurrent crisis of food insecurity, displacement, and underdevelopment, while the foreign aid has increased during the period of acute droughts and conflict. The allocation of resources often fails to align with the acute severity of needs.
I want to thank my colleague who presented the previous session. So I want to start research question in this session. There are 5 main questions that we want to find out the result of this question. It is how the drought and conflict affected, influenced, and whether education and conflict and donors responding and restriction actions, how external factors and political, or whether it is political or donor strategic and effective aid patterns. Literature review in this chapter, it is to explore what the previous study suggested or just with justifiable study, and then also to find out the gap. It is we take those authors, what they have been saying, what how they are analyzed, how they are respond for quotation. Then also we have to find out they are limited. It's clear if they miss something. So that missing, we also want to study, to investigate, and our research will be based on that one. There were droughts in, like there was droughts 2020, 2011. There's also droughts 2016, and there are also droughts recently 2020 and after 2023. So we need to get those gaps so then we can have a valuable research. Methodology. In this chapter, we will want to our research to find out whether it is quantitative, qualitative. So mixed method, it can be a mixed method, or we want to be based on, can be only quantitative. So we have a mixed method. It is 8 drought and conflict data. We can find out those data as a quantitative, whether it's CSV or JSON or all these things, and also qualitative. Donors report or policy document. Donors, all the donors will have usually write report. Then that's quantitative. That resource. Our data resource based on kind of that from various sources like OJA, UN, it is UN, World Bank, and conflict related data we can find added. On the roads related data we can also find out FAO and other etc. And those reporting can be from UN, OCHA, USAID, and other NGOs. Limitation. Yes, it's clear that limitation, like for that gaps, like district level guarantee, we cannot find out that related district. Our country has not on that level. Hidden donors activated, not captured in quantitative model. Some data it is hiding, it is not accessible. And access restriction, also for security purpose, some area it is inaccessible. So, and a reporting of crisis data, despite limitation, all kind of that limitation.
Let me thank my previous colleagues and Mohammed and Artem for their sessions, for their previous sessions. I'm going to now start and our findings. Let me start about the rain anomalies. Somalia's rain anomalies in 2019 and 2024. We see that the Middle Shabelle Gather and Bai has got us less rain, while Hiran has relatively better than to compare the regions. Let me discuss the other trends, other findings were 8 trends. 8 trends were 2029 and 2020 were to 590 million, and while 2021 and 22 has peaked to 1.2 up to 2 billions about the drought when the drought peaks. 2023 and 25 were stabilized and funding were 1.68 billions. Donor responded crisis escalation, not early warning. In our findings about regional allocations, aid distribution is surprisingly uniform across the regions, 1.4 billions for each region, while correlation between the aid and the droughts was severe. Regions most affected did not receive. Regions most affected droughts and the crisis will not receive proportional higher aid than the others. We have, in our findings, conflict and access, collaboration results positive in Bokol and Gilgadud, and more conflict, more aid. While in Middle Shabelle and Juba were negative, were more crisis and less aid. Access and restriction reduced by the 391 million on average. As well as in our findings, donor concentration, aid determined by the top donors in 2021. The top donors get and share were 70% in 2021, 2025, 2022, and 2025. Concentration declined to 61%. On the sectoral allocations like unspecified 8 sectors were dominant. They taken 71 and 73 and 84% wash and growth to 70 and 30% under the double shock. Protection rates about 16% and 14% in 2021, as well as agriculture and health were consistently underfunded. In conclusion, in our discussion, aid is responsive but not equitable. Conflict affects allocation dependent access is the key. Donor concentration and distortion when unequitable political feasibility and the donor interests will override the needs. In our recommendations, strengthen local NGOs participation for access and resilience, implement anticipatory funding before the crisis escalation, diversify the donor base as to reduce the dependence on the top 5 donors. Also rebalance the sectoral fundings, invest agriculture and education, as well as the health alongside the relief. We also recommend increased transparency in allocations, reduce unspecified aid. In conclusion, Somalia's aid escaped and shaped crisis by politics as well as the donor dimensions. Growth and conflict drive aid stacks, but the distribution remains a unit. Also, in conclusion, donor concentration created the system an imbalance. Furthermore, prioritize is based allocations, also reduce the donor concentration and build institutional capacity aligned with both immediate survival. Thank you for your listening.